You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Franken. Whoa, baby, do we have a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk about Cam Newton being back and the effect it had yesterday on the Carolina Panthers. Then in about 30 minutes, we're going to have former UCLA head coach Jim Harrick will be joining us live from the 1994-95 UCLA Bruins 31-1 record national championship. That's right, championships. That's what we're talking about today on Frankly Speaking Sports. Well, let's get right to it, folks. First of all, I want to welcome everybody who's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Also want to welcome people on my radio station, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. It's a great, great day to be a Carolina Panther fan. And, you know, everybody was excited yesterday. Everybody was excited about the return of Cam Newton. And, boy, he did not disappoint. Scoring on his first two touches, a run from a short yardage situation, and then a pass to Robbie Anderson. So Cam Newton, and I'll tell you what, folks, when you look at this game yesterday and you talk about what wins ball games, what wins championships, and, you know, anyone, and I'm sure Coach Jim Harrick will tell you the same thing when he comes on. It's all about attitude. Having that positive attitude, having that positive energy, and remembering there is no I in team. Now, I do not want to take anything away from the great performance by Cam Newton yesterday. It sparked the team. It energized the team. It revitalized the team. But at the end of the day, every single person on this team had a positive effect on the outcome of that game. And, you know, a lot of people are already talking. Who's going to start next week, Larry? Who's going to start next week? Is it going to be Cam Newton? Is it going to be P.J. Walker? And let's not take away, folks, from the great, great game P.J. Walker had. He did everything that was asked for him in this game. 22-29, 167 yards, And he did throw one interception, a couple of bad passes. Chris McCaffrey, another great game, 160-something total yards in the game. Robbie Thompson, welcome back. Cam Newton, Robbie Anderson, is alive. He is alive. 4 receptions, 1 touchdown. Incredible. Love to get your opinion on the game as we see comments already coming in. All right, not sure what that says, but we got obviously some weird Facebook user on there. You know, some people just, I guess, are unprofessional, but we'll leave that alone right now. But at the end of the day, folks, want to thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And let me tell you, when you look at the keys to this game, and I talked about it over and over again, what the keys to this game was going to be. We're going to run them down, and we're going to run them down real quickly here. But, I apologize for that. Had a glitch with my internet. We're back. But the keys to the game, I said the defense needs to show up, and they need to show up big. They need to put pressure on the quarterback. What did this team do? Shaq Thompson, 6 tackles, 2 pass deflectors, 1 sack, 8 yards for a loss. Hassan Reddick, 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 18 yards for a loss. Dante Jackson, 4 tackles, 2 pass deflected, 1 interception. They held the Cardinals. This defense, we said, if this defense comes to play like they know how to play, they will win this game. Not only did they only give up 189 total yards, 104 passing, 65 only on the ground, and of course, 4 sacks in the game. Just a great job by the defense in this game. We said you got to win the turnover battles. Well, both teams had 2 turnovers. But the fortunate thing for the Carolina Panthers is we scored on both turnovers. Cam Newton, the first time, went ahead with a touchdown. We also got a field goal by Zane Gonzalez, who had an incredible game, going 4 for 4 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points as well. The other thing we said the Panthers have to do is they have to score, and they have to score often. When we talked on Wednesday night, I said this Cardinals team is averaging 30.8 points a game. In order to beat them, you have to score 30 to 35 points. What we do? We came out, we scored 34 points, and we won the ball game. So a great job by the offense, mixing it up, executing, and when the Cardinals did make mistakes and turn over the ball, we made the mistakes count, and we put points on the board. I said, I really gave a lot of crap to the offensive line last week. Gave lots and lots of crap to them. And I said, this offensive line needs to go ahead, put on the big boy pants, show up, and play as if this game is the last game they ever played. Well, we're good at criticizing. I also want to make sure we recognize this was a great job by the offensive line. What did the offensive line do in yesterday's game? Well, the Panthers rushed for 166 yards between McCaffrey, Hubbard, Abdullah. They opened up huge, and when I say huge, folks, I mean huge gaps for the running game. Their quarterback was not sacked once. P.J. Walker was not sacked. Now, give credit to P.J. Walker. He throws the ball probably about a half a second quicker than Sam Darnold, And the Panthers still, I think the only issue with the offensive line is too many penalties. Too many penalties. They had 9 penalties, 115 yards. I thought Daly looked a little lost, but when Brady Christensen came in this game, he had an impact, and he had a huge impact. Not only that, but when you allow your team to score 34 points in this game, you are protecting them well. And that just goes to show you, folks, I said this and I said it several times. Sometimes it is the energy of the quarterback which brings out the success of other players around him. And that's what Cam did yesterday. He energized and revitalized this team. This offensive line by far played the best game that they played the entire season, and they need to keep doing it. It just goes to show you, yes, it's one game. It is one game, and one game does not make a whole profile. But at the end of the day, if they protected P.J. Walker as if P.J. Walker was their own. And I said that. You got to protect him like he's a family member, and you don't want him to get touched. And that's exactly what the Panthers' offensive line did in yesterday's game. We talked about third down efficiency. You are playing the Arizona Cardinals, who I believe was 7th in the league in third down efficiency, about 44%, I believe, going into the game. What did we do? Our defense stifled them. And I mean they stifled them hard. 4 for 13 the Cardinals were on third down, 0 for 3 on fourth down. So basically, after third down, they were 4 for 16, guys. That is an incredible, incredible job by the defense. How did the Panthers do on third down? Well, I'm glad you asked. 7 of 15. 7 of 15, close to 50%. Close to 50% on third down conversions in this game. What a great, great job by this team on third down conversions. As we're going to go to the comment section quickly. But, all right, nothing yet on the thing. That is fine. But when we continue to break down this game, folks, and I definitely want to go ahead and do that, we also said you have to mix up and use all your running backs. If you remember the game previously, okay, they did not versus the Patriots. It was Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey. I said anybody can stop Christian McCaffrey if you know every single time he's going to get the ball. Said you got to mix it up. So what did they do? McCaffrey gets 13 rushes. Hubbard gets 9 rushes. Abdullah gets 9 rushes. Newton 3 rushes. And Walker 3 rushes. By mixing it up, you fool the defense. The defense doesn't know what's happening. Also, P.J. Walker, successful to his running backs. When you're running running the ball successfully, now you have it where your running backs can catch the ball out of the backfield. Play action. 14 passes completed to their running backs. McCaffrey, 10 catches. 10 catches. Abdullah, the guy I love, Amir Abdullah, 4 catches. 7 different receivers were involved in this game. 7 different receivers. I said when you start a game plan, in order to win, you have to make the offensive attack conducive to P.J. Walker, where he is comfortable and he feels comfortable. He's a young quarterback, not a lot of experience. Well, my goodness gracious, what a great, great job. Like I said, 14 completions to running backs, 22 of 29, completed 75% of his passes, 167 yards, and 1 interception. And then the big thing, folks, the big thing. I keep talking about this. You have to keep your defense off the field. You have to keep your defense off the field. How do you do that? By sustaining long drives, sustaining the running game, by going ahead and accomplishing third down efficiency like they did yesterday, by getting first downs. What happened? The defense was able to stay fresh, and they stayed on the sidelines instead of having to be on the field all the time. What did it result in? The Carolina Panthers, 24 first downs to 11 first downs by the Cardinals. Time of possession. You win the time of possession. That means your defense is on the sidelines, not on the field. How did we do yesterday? Panthers, 37 minutes and 42 seconds they had of time of possession. Cardinals, 22 minutes and 38 seconds. That's a difference of 15 minutes longer. Our offense was on the field than theirs. Just an incredible job all the way around. The defense was fresh, and you got to see, guys, an unbelievable, well-balanced game yesterday. Also, let's not forget, Zane Gonzalez is doing one heck of a job as a field goal kicker. It's going very quietly right now, but he went 4 for 4 yesterday, hit a 49-yarder, 2 for 2 on extra points. This guy has been solid as a place kicker for us since we've been, had him since week 2 or 3? Just an incredible job. Want to remind everyone, we are about 10 minutes away from having former UCLA Bruins head basketball coach Jim Harrick on with us. We're going to go ahead, take a quick station break, and we'll be back right after this message. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us today. I'm your host, Larry Frank. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports, talking about the big win we had yesterday. You know, a lot of people around the Carolina area, when you listen to them, they talk it as probably they're saying it's one of the most memorable days in the history of sports here in Carolina. First of all, you had the Carolina Panthers go into Arizona, play the Cardinals, who are undefeated, 8-1, and they beat the best team in the NFL by the score of 34-10. Then last night, incredible display by the Charlotte Hornets, who are playing the best team now in the NBA, and that was Golden State, and they defeated them by a score of 106 to 102. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show, but, just a great effort by the Carolina teams. Just a lot of good things going on. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and get Jim on the phone with us. Jim on with us. Well, I see that he's up in the waiting room there, so we want to make sure we go ahead and get him on, and then after that, we'll talk a little bit more about the Carolina Panthers, and we'll also talk a little bit more about the Charlotte Hornets, who I definitely want to go over that when we are done. But let's go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to bring in with us now, one of the, I've watched him coach for years, since the mid-'90s. I know he's coached other teams like, I believe, Georgia, Rhode Island, just to name a few. But I remember Jim Harrick. I remember him very well with the UCLA Bruins, 1994 to 95, 31-1. 31-1 at UCLA, won a national championship. Let's go ahead and bring in Coach Harrick. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing real good, Larry. Nice to talk to you. Nice to be on, frankly speaking.
Well, we appreciate you taking your time to come on with us on Frankly Speaking. Jim, let me ask you this. You've been, it seems like everywhere you coached in basketball, whether it was Rhode Island, UCLA, just to name a few of them, you've always been successful. What is it about you and your coaching style and the components of what you do as a coach that allows your team the chance to be as successful as they have been in the past?
Well, Larry, I started high school the year John Wooden won his first national championship, and about 15 minutes from my high school, and I adopted almost everything that he does. And he was my mentor, my leader, my advisor, and you couldn't ask for anything better. I call it the John Robert Wooden system, not the only way to play, just the best. And he developed many, many, many great drills and offense and defense. And I used almost everything he's had. I followed his lesson plans, his practice plan, which was fantastic. And it's just served me very well.
What was the one thing about Coach Wooden? I mean, obviously you practiced all of what he's done, but what was the one thing that stuck out to you that has helped you the most in your coaching career that you learned from him?
Well, first of all, was how to plan a practice. And it's a systematic thing. It's timed. I think that is probably the best thing of the millions things I've learned from you. That's probably the number one thing that stuck with me more than anything, was how to practice your team. And I think, everything we do. If we're going to win from 3 to 5:30 every day. We're not going to win the night of the game. We're going to win in practice and doing things properly, being fundamentally sound. And that's exactly the way I learned. And it served me well for 50 years.
Coach, a lot of work goes into rebuilding a program, and you've been involved in rebuilding several programs throughout your coaching career. I mean, what did you rebuild? Rhode Island, UCLA. What was the key process when you go over to a program that is underachieving? I'll put it politically correct that way. What are some of the things that you have to deal with and have to know going in to make that program switch around and become successful?
Well, Larry, it goes back to recruiting. You've got to find the kind of athletes that fit your style and want to compete at that level. And I've been very, very, very lucky. I'll tell you that, to attract the kind of athletes that I have attracted. I was at Pepperdine for 9 years, and we won the league 5 times. Went to the NCAA tournament, and we had 15 guys drafted, although there were 10 rounds in those days. So we had some really, really good players there. Then, of course, going to UCLA and having those kind of athletes, it was just absolutely phenomenal. One time I had 17 guys in the NBA, and that's what it takes there. It takes really, really good players. Show me a good coach with bad players, and I'll show you a guy who gets his brains beat out every night. So it's really having good players. And I've been fortunate enough to attract good players. Go to Rhode Island, I get Lamar Odom. You go to UCLA, you get a guy like Ed O'Bannon, who's a National Player of the Year, and Tyus Edney and guys like that. Tracy Murray, one of the great shooters I've ever had. Don McLean's the all-time leading scorer in the history of the school
Right.
and the Pac-12. And then I go to Georgia, and I have Jarvis Hayes and a group of guys that were just absolutely spectacular. Jarvis got drafted 9th, and you need those kinds of players, Larry, to make your programs go.
So, Coach, what was it? Because, like you said, when you're taking over a program, obviously winning takes care of a lot. We know that. But what were some of the things that you preached to recruits to get them to come over to your university? What was it about playing for Jim Harrick that attracted people to come play for you?
Well, I was fortunate enough I was assistant at UCLA for 2 years, then a head coach at Pepperdine right down the road. And then I was a high school coach in the city, and then at UCLA for 8 years. So my whole mantra was letting your family, everybody in your world watch you play, and share your God-given talent with the people who love you the most, your parents, and let them walk in Poly Pavilion at UCLA and watch you play. And it worked well for me. Even at Pepperdine, watching you play Georgia, I had 5 guys from Georgia, and their parents used to come and watch them play. But you have to go out and get other guys too, and convince them that they want to play in your style, want to play for you. And Larry, I can't even tell you how fortunate I've been to. And I tell you, Larry, look at it now. You watch it, and all you people watch it. Good coaches are attractors. They attract players to them. And that's what it takes to win.
We are talking to Jim Harrick, former UCLA, Pepperdine, Rhode Island, head basketball coach. 1994-95, what can you say about that great, great team that was assembled that you had the honor of coaching? You mentioned Ed O'Bannon, just to name a few. But when did you know, Coach, that team was going to be that year something special?
Well, we got beaten overtime as a sophomore. That group of sophomores got beaten overtime by the Fab Five, and we had a chance to win that as a winnable game, and we didn't win it, and that was very disappointing. And then we got hurt the next year and limped into the tournament and got our brains beat out. But then the second game of the year, we played Kentucky, who had about 7 pros in the John Wooden Classic at the Honda Center down in Anaheim, and beat them by 1. And right then, I knew that we had a little something special. But, one and done, you never know, Larry. You just never know. We got hammered by Missouri in the second round, and then came back, and then Eddie made a great play at the end of the game to win for us. And after that, nobody got close to us, quite frankly. And so, you got to have a little luck. Ball's got to bounce your way a few times, but you got to get people. You got to have people that can play basketball.
In 94-95, it's the 11th national championship for UCLA, the first in 20 years, the last being when Coach Wooden was running the Bruins. How much more special was it to win the national championship, win it with UCLA, and be the first coach since the guy that mentored you to go ahead and win the national championship?
Larry, Coach Wooden had gone to 37 straight NCAA tournaments with his wife, and she passed away in '84. And he wouldn't go. He wasn't going. He would not go to the NCAA tournament. I told him, kept telling him, I said, all the young coaches need you. They need to meet you and talk to you. So we win the Elite 8 game and go to the Final Four, and I'm flying back home. And before I go home, I go to his house. I go up and I knock on the door, and he opens the door, and he doesn't say, congratulations, way to go, I'm proud of you. He says, no, I'm not going. And finally, he got a speaking engagement up there, and Arthur Anderson flew him up in a private plane. And Larry, to have him in the arena was so very, very special for me because I just loved it. He was my guy. He was my mentor, my guy, and I wanted him around, but he never wanted to steal my thunder. And so he was just something very, very special. To win it, knowing what he has accomplished and to win it with, be a name beside him is really, really something. I remember after that, we went to a banquet, and he got up and he says, "Well, I want to introduce you to Jim Harrick. Between us, we've won 11 national championships." And he just laughed. He thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And he won 10 of them. But boy, a special guy. But having him there and winning it, just winning it, period, is a very, very special thing. But winning it at UCLA with Coach Wooden there, it was really special for me.
Coach, you mentioned Ed O'Bannon a couple of times. 6'8". He averaged 20.4 points a game, 8.3 rebounds, just under 3 assists a game. What was it about Ed where he learned to become so dominating during his college basketball career?
Well, he was, first of all, a great leader. Second of all, a great teammate. He would give the ball up to all the guys. But when he looked at you, you knew that you better get the ball to Ed O'Bannon. And he was a real deal. So he was such a great leader for us. And he was so shy and backward until about his senior year. He came out of it, and he was a great leader for us that year. And he just in the locker room, on the road, and everything. And when you have a great leader, that really helps your basketball team. He was a fifth-year senior who he tore his knee up as a freshman, and he missed the first 6 or 7 games. I don't think he played till league of his sophomore year. So he missed a little bit and wasn't really the same guy. And it took him a long time to really get back. He was a National High School Player of the Year and the National College Player of the Year. So he was really special. But leadership, I thought, was one. And he could finish. He could find. He had a great, great, great senior year.
Yeah. Now, Coach, a lot of people back then when you first took over UCLA, they talk about how the heck did Coach Harrick get to recruit Don McLean? I mean, Don McLean comes over. How much did the recruitment of Don McLean change the direction of UCLA?
Well, Don McLean was at Simi Valley High School. My sons played at Newberry Park High School. They're in the same league. And his high school coach was one of my dear friends. He came to my basketball camp at Pepperdine, I think 5 years in a row. So I knew Don really, really well. And he wasn't going to go to UCLA. And then they made a coaching change. I recruited him, and he came, and he's the all-time leading scorer, although he played 4 years and Kareem played 3. I want you to know that. But he's still the all-time leading scorer in the history of UCLA and the history of the Pac-12. A great player. I mean, tell you, Larry, you want to take Don McLean on the road with you. We were over at Arizona, and they won 73 straight games. And he looked at me in the huddle and kind of smacked me in the chest and said, "Get me the ball." And I did, and he got 37 that night, and we beat him over there. And so that's the kind of guy you want to take on the road that just steps up and doesn't care about anything. I mean, knocks down shots. And he was a very, very special player, a high-level player.
Coach, let me ask you this, and I'm sure you've been asked it several times. Obviously, you didn't leave UCLA on the most pleasant terms with some things that had happened, with some violations here and there. Does it still bother you, Coach, that because of some of the things that had happened towards the end of your tenure, that you're not a member of the UCLA Hall of Fame? And do you feel like, I think you should be. I'm going to tell you that straight up. But do you feel hurt or slighted by them not having you in the Hall of Fame?
Larry, I really don't. I'll tell you why. When you apply for jobs, you may think you're the best candidate in the world, but the school has a right to choose whoever they want to be their coach, and they have the right to choose whoever they want to be in their Hall of Fame. So that doesn't bother me. No, I still love UCLA. I go there. I went to the game the other night against Villanova, and my time there, I had a great, great, great run there. It's a wonderful, magnificent school. I would just say that when I was there, some of the people weren't so good, in my opinion, but that's just the way it goes. No, Larry, it's a tough business, and I move on and don't ever look back through the rearview mirror. Just look forward and go straight and do what you can. I've had a marvelous, marvelous run in coaching, from Pepperdine to UCLA to Rhode Island to Georgia, and scouted in NBA for 3 years. I mean, I've had just a marvelous run, and sure, there's bumps in the road. There's things that happen. But I've had a great run.
Now, Coach, a couple more questions before I let you run. Talk about college basketball today compared to, obviously, you're still involved, I know, somewhat in coaching, but I'm talking about from the 90s or the 80s, when you were coaching in basketball. It's changed a lot. I mean, there's no secret what the game has evolved into. Talk about some of the things like the transfer portal, NIL, and things of that have come out recently. Do you like those things, or do you not like those things?
Well, the transfer portal, probably one of the worst things I think's ever happened. There were almost 1,800 guys in the transfer portal, Larry. That's an absolute joke. 3 or 4 guys leaving every program. I mean, what have they done to this thing? And the likeness in NIL, the NCAA's made a lot of money in basketball over the years. And if they had shared that somewhere along the way, they wouldn't be in the position they're in today, having this thing and they're going to have to restructure something, because what they're doing is not working. And I just look back, and I look back when I quit coaching, nobody could shoot the ball. And now I look around and go to games that everybody shoots the ball. So now you have a tremendous dilemma as a coach. You got to choke the 3-point shot, but that opens a dribble drive lane to the basket. Now, which one do you choose your method of madness? What do you want to do? You want to stop the dribble drive to the basket, or you want to stop the 3-point shot? So if you can find a combination that can do both of those, you're going to be a winner. But that's very, very, very difficult. Most everything today is screen and roll, penetrate and kick, and shoot the 3. And that's just the way the game has evolved. And it's probably because of the NBA, and that's the way it's gone. And I really don't like it, because we ran a structured offense, and it was really hard to guard and very, very difficult when you had good players. So it's changed a lot, but a lot of things in life has changed a lot.
Coach, what do you think about all these conferences now mixing up, reshuffling, these teams, Power 5 teams going to different conferences and so on? Is that good for the game or not good for the game?
I don't think it's good for the game. I don't like to see it all. When West Virginia is in the Big 12, that's probably the biggest joke of anything. They got to travel to Texas 5 or 6 times a year, and teams got to go to West Virginia. And now that Texas and Oklahoma are going to be in the Southeastern Conference, I don't know how it's going to go, but I think it's ugly. I think we ought to just go back to where we were, regionalized, and be in your conference and compete. And it's all got to do with money, Larry. All got to do with money. Yep. The greed out there is incredible.
So, Coach, before I let you run, last question here. You said you got to go to UCLA game versus Villanova just recently. UCLA ranked very high to begin the year. How do you see them playing throughout the year? And do you think they have a legitimate chance to be there at the end?
Oh, they're good. They're good. With the kid at Gonzaga, Timmy, and Juzang, I think probably be arguably the 2 best players in the country. And Johnny Juzang's really good. And Hami Haikas is good too. So they've got a really, really nice team. Villanova's got a nice team. They had to come cross country and play in overtime and play a late game, and they got a little bit tired at the end and couldn't finish. But they were up 10. They were up 10 on UCLA going down the stretch. So interesting year this year. A lot of good teams. There'll be some teams that come out of nowhere that you never heard of it'll show some things. Teams get better as the season goes along. So you really never know. Well, the one and done is very hard to win it all.
Yes, it is. Well, listen, Coach, I want to thank you so very, very much taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports this evening.
My pleasure, Larry. Nice to be on this legendary show.
That's it. You got it. All right, my friend. Stay safe, okay?
Thank you. You too.
All right, that was Coach Jim Harrick, former UCLA Bruins head basketball coach. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day I'm looking around and I'm saying, I need to become part of a Carolina Panthers group that stays positive even in these tough times. And I'll tell you what, boy, have I found a group, the Carolina Panthers Den. It's on Facebook and you need to join today. This is a group that stays positive, has a good time, and interacts with a lot of other different Carolina Panthers fans. If you want to have a great time and talk about your team, encourage your team in a way that is done very professionally, then become a member of the Carolina Panthers Den on Facebook. Make sure to join today. You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank. Thank you so very much for joining us today. And we're going to talk a little bit more Panthers right before we end the show. But I want to make sure we talked right when Coach Harrick was coming on. By the way, what a great interview with Coach Harrick, legendary coach. Won the national championship, like I said, with UCLA. Imagine playing an entire year. You play 32 games and only lose one. It's really amazing when you think about it. And, like Coach Harrick said, UCLA this year again, college basketball has started up. That's the reason we had him on. And UCLA, so far, so good, and they look like they're going to be very, very strong throughout the entire season. But last night, talking about strong, it was the Charlotte Hornets over the Golden State Warriors, 106-102. Hornets shot almost 48% from the field goal, and the Warriors shot 42.2%. Hornets defense last night, folks, and this is the type of game they have to play. Tough, rugged, really hardcore defense, and they caused 15 turnovers yesterday's game. Plumlee doesn't get a lot of credit, doesn't score a lot of points. You don't see a lot of statistics, but he's all over the place. I love the guy. He's incredible. Meanwhile, for the Warriors, it was Andrew Wiggins, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Steph Curry, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. And what really, really hurt the Warriors yesterday was Curry shot 13 3-pointers, but was only successful on 3 of them. So 3 of 13 from 3-pointers. Meanwhile, for the Hornets, you talk about a well-balanced offense. That's what you need in this game of basketball. Miles Bridges, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. LaMelo Ball, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. He's 4 for 8 from 3-pointer. How about Terry Rozier, 20 points an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, 7 for 14 from the field. Terry Rozier with 20 points. And you want to know one of the great things about this Charlotte Hornets team this year has been the ability to score points off the bench. And when you look at this bench and you just look at 2 of the guys who played a major role in yesterday's game, Cody Martin, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Then you got Kelly Oubre, who's been going off the entire season, pitches in 10 points and 4 rebounds. The Hornets moved to 8-7 right now, but this is a team, if they can get going and can get to play consistent defense. Defense is what's been killing this team. It's been so erratic. One game it looks unbelievable. The next game it doesn't. If they can go out there, we know they can score points. They're right up there with the league lead in scoring points offensively. What they need to do is be able to play defense and hold the other team from scoring. And it seems like they sometimes get off to these slow starts, which they did not yesterday. I believe it was tied up at halftime at 57. But this is a team that has to come out of the gate playing well. They can't keep waiting to the second half to come back from a big deficit and try to win these ball games. They've been successful quite a few times this year doing that, but at the end of the day, you have to start from the beginning. And I think one of the key things yesterday was LaMelo Ball going off, I believe it was in the first quarter, and had a great game. I think he scored like 14 points in that quarter. So a great game. But this is a Hornets team that has the ability, if they can play with a little bit more consistency, especially on the defensive side, they have a real legitimate shot to go to the playoffs this year. Now, I'm not going to look at you and say this Hornets team is a championship caliber team. By no way, shape, or form am I going to say that. But they do have a decent team that has the ability to, they beat the best team yesterday in the NBA in the Golden State Warriors. Great job. That shows you that they have a team who can play with the best in the NBA. So if you can play one game like that, you can play several games like that. The key is going to be, how do we go about getting this team to play with consistency like they did last night versus Golden State? That's a high-powered offense, and they held them. 102 points is not a lot anymore in an NBA game. So you got to give credit where credit is due, and what a great job by the Charlotte Hornets. Let's keep it going. Long season ahead of us. But you know what? I really believe this team has the ability to go ahead and make the playoffs. We're going to take one more 15-second station break. So a real quick station break. And when we come back, folks, we are going to go ahead and we are going to talk about the Cam Newton, PJ Walker. What happens next week with the Carolina Panthers? We'll be back. All right. You are watching Frankly Speaking Sports, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Franken. Once again, the comment section is open. If you like to leave any comments, please go ahead and do so. We have about 10 minutes left in our incredible Monday show here. But, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about defense a minute ago with the Charlotte Hornets, that we don't know if they have the team. We're not saying they have a team capable of winning a championship. But if you want to know about a defense that has the ability, if the offense can get going, to win a championship, you saw it yesterday with your Carolina Panthers. That is by far a championship type defense. Nobody else can say that. Nobody else. This defense is so dominant, and for the first time in a long time, they had the opportunity, like we mentioned earlier in the show, especially with us having over 37 minutes with time of possession, being very successful, 7 of 15 on first downs. They had the ability to stay fresh and stay fresh all game. I mean, just an incredible, incredible job. And it just goes to show you what happens when you can do the little things in football and go ahead and play like we did yesterday. The defense had time to refresh themselves. They had time to get a blow on the sidelines, to stay fresh, not to be exhausted, not to be tired. And they played that entire game full of energy. Now, folks, it is no secret, okay? It is no secret that the emergence of this unbelievable spree of energy was caused by the signing of Cam Newton. And Cam Newton, being the leader that he is, being the human being that he is, right away took his role. And of course, he's going to take it seriously. And what an effect it had on this team. But by no means do I want everyone here, and no disrespect towards Cam, do I want people to think that that's the only reason we won that game yesterday. We won that game because of a team effort, coaching included. I criticized Joe Brady so much last week on my show for poor play calling, only utilizing certain players. Yesterday, great job. 166 yards rushing, like we said. Just an incredible job by Coach Brady. Coach Rule, great job keeping this team together, going out and saying, I want to win now. I need to get someone like Cam. Now, folks, Cam looked great yesterday, but he only played a selected number of plays. Now, that's not to discourage you, but he'll be the first one to tell you he has a long way to go. He needs to learn the playbook. Now, I'm going to tell you something which you probably already know. Cam was not brought here to be a backup. He was brought here to be the starter. I don't care if P.J. Walker went 30 for 30 yesterday for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. You still eventually would see Cam Newton as the starter here. But I give lots of credit to P.J. Walker. What a great job. And he probably solidified the backup role, and we could have seen the last of Sam Darnold on this team. But, Cam still has more to prove. Now, can Cam do it? I'm confident Cam. We know he can add energy. We saw what having him on the sidelines means. Now we want to see it on the field, and we need to see it consistently. And a lot of people say, Larry, who starts next week? Well, a lot of that's going to depend on how much Cam can learn now this week, in the next 5-6 days, whatever it is. Now, understand this. PJ knows the system. There's nothing wrong with this team using 2 quarterbacks for another week until the following week, until Cam is 100% comfortable with the playbook. Now, I think you'll see some P.J. Walker. I think you'll see Cam Newton. I think you'll see much more of Cam Newton. But even when Cam Newton is the starter, you still have the ability to use P.J. Walker in different packages as well. But, before you throw Cam out there, you want to make sure that he is comfortable with that playbook. And if he's not, there may be certain situations that would require PJ to be out there until Cam learns those individual plays. Now, Cam's not no dummy. Cam's a very intelligent guy, and like a lot of football people will tell you, especially on the offensive side, A lot of plays are very similar. They just have different sequences, different ways of calling them out, and different names to them. So that's the part that Cam is going to have to learn. And it could take another week. We're playing Washington now. Please, we'll talk more about this Wednesday. Don't think Washington's a pushover. We don't have the right to think anyone is a pushover, because on any given day, there are teams that have proven they can beat us, and we have proven that we can beat them. Washington's coming off a solid game at Tampa Bay where they beat the Super Bowl champs. Yes, Chase Young is now out. You know, they have Trevor Heineke as their quarterback, who is a solid quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. I'm not going to say he's a Tom Brady quarterback, but believe me, he is still an average or above average quarterback in the NFL. And there is no game that anybody should take lightly. Every single week, we are playing an NFL team. That means they have players who are capable of doing things just like any other team. You know, yesterday we got to see the emergence of our offensive line. And it seemed like with a couple of injuries that were there, the line actually solidified a little bit more. I thought Brady Christensen did a great job when Daly went down. I think the whole offensive line, Eflin going into center, I thought did a brilliant job with a new quarterback there, 2 new quarterbacks. So there's a lot of excitement right now, folks, in the Carolina area. And we want to keep that up. Don't let these folks that are negative, oh, Cam can't do that, Cam can't do that. Screw them, okay? Those people are the same people that will kiss his ass when they're winning, that will knock him down when he's not, okay? You, the true Panther fan, keep pounding. Keep staying a Panther fan. This is a team, if we can get this offense clicking like we did yesterday, could have a very, very special season. Right now, if the season ended today, folks, we would be in the playoffs. All we got to do is take one game at the time. The next 3 weeks, I won't say they're easy, but they are simpler games than the last 4. The last 4 games, folks, I know Buffalo's in there, New Orleans is in there, and Tampa Bay twice. The good news is you played Tampa Bay the last 2 out of 3 games of the season, which could be big for us. I don't know how big it'll be for Tampa Bay. So we could get lucky and Tampa Bay may not play all their starters. But on the other flip side of it all, just concentrate on winning. Right now, the only game that should be on your mind is this upcoming Sunday game, 1:00 p.m., Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina, versus the Washington football team. And I'll tell you what, we go in there and we do everything. We got to work on those penalties a little bit. Little too much holding. You can't keep losing yardage because of penalties. The 9 penalties yesterday, still a little too much for 115 yards. We got to correct that, and we will correct that. Trust the people in charge. Trust this team. McCaffrey's back. Newton's here. Look at Robbie Anderson yesterday. I mean, when was the last time we got to see Robbie Anderson smile like we got to see yesterday? When did you see McCaffrey showing emotion after that first touchdown like he did yesterday? We got something special going. We all got to stay positive. We all have to keep pounding. We all have to keep getting loud. We all got to stand up, root for this team, and in return, this team will deliver for you. I'm Larry Frank. Good night.